Greetings! So in today's video, I want to talk about my current favorite pen for inking. As you may be aware, I tend to do illustrations mostly, so line art and line work is a key element of what I like to do. And since I like to paint my drawings, well, I kind of need a few key specific items for my pens. These are made by the company Zebra, and they are not particularly fancy. They call them their fine disposable brush pen. It has this somewhat fine felt tip. So what do I really like of this pen? First and foremost, they are waterproof. This is the one thing that I really need in my pen, is that the ink is waterproof. As I like to paint my drawings with watercolor, if the ink is not waterproof, it's gonna make a big old mess. Also, these are quite affordable if you can find them easily. Otherwise, they might be marked up a bit, but all in all, a very affordable pen. The one downside of these pens is that they are disposable, which is a bummer. I haven't found a similar waterproof refillable pen, so I keep going with these, but it's annoying that these are not refillable. So that's my current favorite. I have quite a few. I always have a few going at the same time. If they become a bit dry, I like to put a bit of tape on them, so I know if I need something a bit more dry in my application, I know which one to get. I also want to show a couple of other pens that I often reach for when I'm inking. I don't think this pen needs an introduction. It's the Pentel Pocket Brush. This is my original pocket brush. I have had this pen for like 25 years. And it still works perfectly fine. I think the only issue I had with it was that the tip wasn't as fine anymore, so I got a second one. And I use both, depending on what I need it for. What I like of this pen, again, it's waterproof ink. This one is refillable, so you can get cartridges. And you just plop them in and you're good to go. It's a very durable pen. The only downside to it, and why it's not my main go-to pen, is that it's a bit harder to control than this one. The brush is slightly bigger all in all, and it's made with nylon hair, and it can be a bit tricky to get into the finer details. Other pens that I like to use, I have these two. They are from Platinum. They use the same cartridge of Platinum Carbon ink, which is also waterproof. So these two are refillable. This is the Carbon pen, and this is a Profante pen. And I use them both. This one is a bit more recent than the other one, but they're really convenient and easy to carry on. And again, I love the fact that I can use refills with these. And finally, the last pen I tend to go to a lot is this Faber-Castell Pitt pen. This is 0.3 or small. It's just a really nice fine tip pen if you want to ink with a really steady line that doesn't change in weight a lot. Also waterproof. So again, all of these are waterproof. That's something that is really, really important to me. There are two other pens that I would like to mention. It's these two brush pens. One is fine, one is medium, and they're waterproof, which is my main factor again. I really like to use these for making texture because the ink doesn't flow as quickly as the Pentel Pocket Brush, so you can get some really nice dry brushing effect with these. It's also worth noting that all of these impressions are based on using cold press paper, so a paper with a texture on it. That's my favorite paper to use, so that's what my opinion is based on. So I have a piece of scrap paper here, just to quickly show. So this is the fine disposable brush pen from Zebra. See, you can get some dry brushing effect. You can go like slightly finer. You can press on the nib a bit to get some variation. And I quite like this one. Second one is the Pentel Pocket Brush. So this one is a bit trickier because it's real hair, so it behaves more like a brush. You can get some really nice things going on with this one. You can have some super duper fine line to much thicker, but it can be really difficult to control at times. So I kind of fell out of habit of using this one. Perhaps I should get back into the habit of using it, since at least this one is refillable. Then I have the two fountain pens that I've shown. This is the carbon pen. Kind of have to be careful with these on cold press paper because the texture of the paper might like misdirect the nib, but also you can get like a super duper fine line by using it like the other way around, and you can get the regular fine line by using it the proper way. The Profante one is quite similar, though I think this one dries a bit more. Like, I don't know if I've been lucky, but my carbon pen has been an absolute trooper. I've never had any issues with it, even if I don't use it for long periods of time. Whereas this one, you can see it's kind of skipping a bit, so I might need to clean it up. Like, this one is a more recent edition, so I'm not as familiar with this one. Then we have the Faber-Castell one. As you can see, it's a quite steady line. Doesn't skip. And the tip is sturdy enough that it doesn't get all squished or frayed from using it on rougher paper. And finally, these two. So this is the fine one. These are also actual hair, like nylon hair. So it's an actual brush, but you can see just how dry it is. So I really like to use these for dry brushing like this. And you can sort of layer it a bit, or you could really like work it in if you want something a bit stronger. Or you could be really patient and ink with it, but it's not, I don't know if it's my pen that's not flowing right, but I like it like that. I'm fine with it. And this is the medium one, so the tip is much bigger, but it's also quite dry, so again, great for that dry brushing texture. And less so for inking, unless you're after this kind of a really textured line. I can also show a bit my process when inking a drawing. I will not show the inking itself because it's really hard to ink something well and film it at the same time, at least with my current setup. But I have this sketch in my sketchbook. As you can see, for now it's a blue sketch, and just before I get to inking it, what I like to do is to grab a kneaded eraser, you know, those sort of soft eraser, and I like to just stamp it on the image to remove a bit of the excess pencil. I feel like it works better for inking if the ink doesn't go on top of a thick layer of pencil. So by doing this, I can lighten up my sketch enough that I can ink directly on it, and it usually looks better when I erase the sketch when I'm done. So I'll get done with that, and I will ink with my various brushes, and then I'll come back and explain to you how I proceeded for this. Alright, I just got done inking. In the end, I went for these two. So, of course, the Zebra Fine Brush Pen. And I also use this one to add a bit of texture around. Now I will let this dry completely, at least overnight, and then I'll erase the sketch lines. For erasing the sketch line, I tend to use a different eraser than this, but I try to keep it to a soft eraser so it doesn't lighten up the ink work too much. Also, one little thing that I want to mention, if you like to have a taped off border in your illustrations and you ink while the tape is on, just be careful when you erase, because the ink on the tape can smudge, and it can go on your eraser, and then when you erase the rest of the drawing, it can transfer there. So if I've inked and there's a lot of ink on the tape, I'll remove this one and put a new one. And if the ink is very light on the tape like it is currently, I might just try and be careful when I erase so I don't smudge ink too much. It's just a little thing to keep in mind. So that's it for this quick video on how I like to ink. I haven't really figured out the perfect way to do it, in my opinion. This is just what I currently do. You know, with every new drawing, I'm trying something a bit different to figure it out. And you will see this little drawing painted in a review quite soon. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have a favorite inking pen, and we will see each other in the next one. Bye bye!